Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4. We're going to be here in the brand new DLC track, the South African track of course, which is Kyalami, a terrific track, and we're going to try and cover some of the fastest laps I did last night on board the Kawasaki ZX-10RR. So I decided to change it up and go for the Kawasaki for a change, and also a 1000cc bike. I do obviously favour the 600cc's, but I did feel, since I already covered the 600cc's just a few days ago, it would be nice to change it up and go for 1000cc's. So a quick shout out to Andre Souza, who contacts me on Twitter. So you asked for this video and I already planned on doing it, but together we're in collaboration to then make a bit of a tips and tricks guide, because I hadn't planned on doing the tips and tricks. So I'm going to give you what I can, somewhat of a track breakdown, but of course it is just going to be me running some fast laps. I wouldn't say they're hot laps. Towards the end it does get quite tasty, but for the time being I didn't think this bike was going to be able to compete for any world record times. Everyone tends to use the Panigale for that, but still our goal was to try and get as high up on the leaderboard as possible, and still at the same time discuss some sort of tips and tricks and how to improve on this magnificent track. So as lap 1 is coming to a close, it is probably now time to sit back and have a bit of a chat about this brilliant track. So Kyalami, being a very technical track, is very difficult to master, but it's a very fast-paced and very, very enjoyable track. I highly recommend picking up if you haven't decided to buy it yet. But into turn 1 for the very second time, and you're going to see here I'm using a lot of rear brake, downshifting all the way down to first gear, and using a bit of the rumble strip on the left for Crowthorne, and then flick it right for turn 3, which you can use a lot of on the rumble strip there, but careful of the wheelie. It caught me out quite a few times. Propel yourself towards the rumble strip there, but do not go on it because it does invalidate the lap, which I found out the hard way. Trail brake into turn 5 of Sunset. Pay attention down the bottom right hand corner of how much trail brake was necessary for that corner. And then turn 6, a little bit of rear brake there, which I did fiddle around with, because I did this track for these 20-ish laps or whatever I did, 30 laps or something. Bear in mind a lot of them got invalidated, so I only showed the normal valid laps. But I then did the Kyalami Master Group, and then the endurance race that was part of that cup. And I think I've got even more to do on this track, but yes, we'll get to that another day. There's something to pay attention to here. Notice how hot the rear tyre gets, because for me, I was using a lot of rear brake. And now at the time of this video, I used a lot of rear brake, and I think that was probably a good thing to do, but I think there's probably areas to not use it as much, and to try and savour some of that sort of temperature, because as you can see, it's pretty much glowing yellow, and I did restart a lot of laps just to make sure that the temperature was optimum, opposed to it being a little bit too hot. But already we have improved. We're up to 136.733. Still got way off to get into the leaderboards or to compete with some of the best riders. Went into turn 2, a little bit wider this time, but as you can see, it's still a decent position to be in. So whether you want to use the rumble strip or whether you want to just follow that racing line, that's okay. Turn 4, barbecue. Do not run it wide like I did there, because you see, compared to the Ghost, you lose a lot of time, and you lose that imperative exit speed that is required for great cornering in this game. Especially in a track like this, you really need to get the exit speed right, just as well as the entry. And if you don't get the entry, you usually don't get the exit. Be very careful of coming out of the rumble strip. So I'm guessing part of like the S's here, towards the end of the track, is mostly where people are going to struggle with. And I touch base on this particular part into turn 8, and I simply said around, be very, very gentle on the brake and look towards that rumble strip on your left hand side as you approach turn 8. That is where to brake. That helps you out so much. Of course, always pay attention to the guides down the bottom right hand corner. You will be able to see how much brake, how much acceleration, etc. we're going to be using. At turn 11, oh my lord, this corner caught me out so much. It's so deceptive, that corner, and I'll be honest, I don't think I have a definitive point of where to say you have to brake here or you do not need to brake there. It's a bit of a bugger, let me tell you. So now, after 3 laps completed, I have decided to change the tyre compounds. We did have a medium front and a soft rear, and that has been changed now to a medium front and a medium rear. Running a little bit deeper into turn 2, but it's quite alright because you still get relatively the same amount of exit speed. Use the rumble strip on the right there, and put brake earlier this time for turn 4 of barbecue. Follow the racing line, hook towards the rumble strip but not on it, and that is a much better exit speed. Pay attention to the turn 5 trail braking here. As you can see, halfway down on that left trigger. That's all it was to trail brake into that corner. Now, you may not necessarily need to use that, you might be able to brake earlier and try and carry the speed. For me, I found it more comfortable to trail brake into that corner. Here, brake quite early before you see the rumble strip towards the right, and follow these rumble strips like your life depended on it. That is key for me, and of course, keep an eye out for the rumble strip on the left here. As soon as that rumble strip starts, you need to start braking, or at least getting prepared to brake. Rocket down waterfall section, I guess you could say. Somewhat a bit like Saxon Ring, isn't it? And of course the long left-hander. That's a tough corner to get right, and this one, of course, being the hardest. Crocodiles is a difficult corner. And then, of course, turn 11, which comes up now. Best way to find is, when you get the bike straight, and there's a bit of a barrier on the left-hand side that's painted yellow, I would say when you see that one, begin to think about braking, but I couldn't ever find a nice position to brake for that turn 11. It was such a pain. Turn 1 seems to be remaining exactly the same. Use everything you've got. Rear brake, front brake, downshift, all the way down to first gear. And then of course here, brake as you exit the rumble strip of that turn. And then these couple of corners are pretty much the same, to be honest with you. It's all about making sure that you're following the same pattern, hooking into all the rumble strips. I would say the majority of us are going to need assistance towards the end of the lap, but if you are struggling on these parts as well, follow my lines. I think I found the best couple of lines there. Of course, everyone's style is different, but I would highly recommend my sort of style for this one. So as we approach the S's, you're going to see the rumble strips appear on the right hand side and on the left hand side. That's when I would say you need to be getting ready to brake. And as I say before, and I've said again, when I say hook into the rumble strip, I mean get as close as possible as you can. Really, really stay within a couple of meters of the rumble strip, because that helps guide you around. It subconsciously brings you around, and also subconsciously tells you where the corners are. The rumble strips are your friend, absolutely, and the rumble strips on this track are fantastic. They do not rocket you off. The only rumble strip I will say avoid is turn 11, Cheetah. And that is treacherous if you get it wrong. But of course, when you see that rumble strip into turn 11 Cheetah, be prepared to start braking. Barrier on the left hand side that's a bit yellow, also another little telling point to pay attention to. And this is going to be another improved lap. So this time it's a 1:35.574, so we're nowhere near like the world record lap times. But it's a good starting point, and we're improving all the time, hoping that we can get into a 1:34 here. At this point it was getting pretty serious. I stopped thinking about the guide. I just wanted to improve. But my lines are very much the same towards the end of the track. I'm following pretty much the same pattern to about halfway through, and then I start experimenting. So I would say follow this couple of corners up to about turn 7, turn 8. Follow everything to the book that I've done so far, and you won't go wrong. But for the last couple of parts of the laps, that's when it gets quite serious. I'm still not fully positive on my positioning on the track, and I think I could improve a lot more. But I think there is a lot more areas to improve upon. But I did a full endurance race just yesterday, and I was very consistent. My lap times were pretty much the same constantly. So I did feel like I've got a good understanding of this track at this point. So I will revisit this at some point, potentially with the Panigale, to try and get the world record. I know Fuchs is an absolute madman here. It's another one I'm just going to have to try and battle and see if I can beat. But turn 11, it's a tough one, and same as turn 12. Turn 12 is deceptive because I carry way more speed into turn 11 than I think I am. So by the time I get to turn 12, I'm actually carrying too much speed and I end up braking a little bit too late and running it on. So a quick mention as well, I do apologise if my voice is still a bit crap, still under the weather unfortunately at the minute. It doesn't stop content creation, nothing will stop content creation, and of course more content to follow, as we're almost approaching 700 subscribers now as well guys, so that is absolutely terrific. If you haven't subscribed already and you enjoy the content, do me a favour and hit that subscribe button, I would be eternally grateful. But these next couple of laps, this is serious business stuff now. It's very much me giving it my best shot here. It's giving it my all. I was in some pretty serious mode actually. I did so many laps and I kept invalidating them on silly mistakes. And every single one came from towards the end of the lap or losing the front into turn 3 or something silly like that. And it was so annoying but so entertaining and interesting. I was really determined. And I love that. I love this about these laps because I've got a precedent. If I'm going to put content up here, and I need to be good, I need to be competitive. So therefore, it's pretty serious stuff. A lot of time and effort went to going to do this, as all my content does. It takes a long time to do. There's no shortcuts here. But turn 11, I hope to never see turn 11 again. I swear. It's just so difficult to find the right braking zone. But this is going to be the end of lap 6, and I think it was a tyre change. If I consult my notes, we did actually change to the hard front and the medium rear now. And we're going to do 3 laps on the hard front and medium rear, see how we get on. I think you definitely have to try different tyre compounds. You really have to give them a go, because you'll be surprised how good a tyre is that you don't think will be good, and how bad a tyre is that you think will be good. Most of my world record attempts and most of my lap times that have been very competitive have usually come from a hard front or a medium and a medium rear, or a medium front and a medium rear. I very rarely use the soft option tyres. But soft option tyres do come into play later on in this video, so if you're a soft option fan, you will be pleased that they'll still be in this video. But as I say, as far as the guide goes, you can see my lap time is relatively consistent. But you can also see my positioning on track is very much the same throughout the entirety of this. But as you can see, a little bit out of shape into Lee Coop, and invalidated lap. The most dreaded thing in Ride 4 since the update is the invalid lap sign or the penalty time. I hate it. But we are going to continue because I have a little bit of advice for you actually. Don't let the invalid lap deter you from continuing your lap. Sometimes you'll be very surprised how well you can use invalid lap because you know it's invalid, so you might as well just push a little bit further. You know it's not going to count, so why not give it all you've got? Maybe brake a little bit harder into a corner you wouldn't do usually. Maybe gear down for a corner you wouldn't do, or maybe absolutely throttle it to the bejesus out of it. Little things like that. If it's invalid lap, you might as well try because you've got nothing to lose, and that's why I continued on that lap. But it's very imperative to do that sometimes because you'll get a feel and an understanding of, you know what, I think I've been going too tentative in that corner, or I've been going too hell leather. And you'll be surprised how much of a difference that actually makes. But back to the business at hand, Joseki Sweep, turn 3. Absolutely fantastic part of the track this. I really like this the opening part of this lap. You know it's going to be a great track when you do a couple of corners. I must say this is a brilliant track. I'm super impressed with it so far. Really enjoy doing this video and really enjoy doing the rest of the content I've got that will be coming out this week. Of course, I'll be staggered, so we won't see all of it just at once, unless you want to see it that way. Of course, I stagger all my content and I've got a lot of videos already pre-done for the next couple of days. So let me know if you want to see more Kyalami or if you want to see something else, because I have many different things to upload. As we approach the dreaded turn 8. I actually didn't have too much difficulty in turn 8. That was the only one mistake I made into turn 8, and that was the previous lap where I invalidated the lap. And we weren't that great in that particular corner. So as you can see so far, the hard front medium rear combination is not getting the job done. It's definitely worth a try, but I don't think it's getting the job done. So we'll probably go for perhaps another lap and then see what we can do. But the hard front medium rear, it's probably not going to be for me on this one. I found the hard option didn't really work at all. It just didn't give me the same amount of grip that I desired. So we are now approaching the final couple of laps, and this has had another tyre change. We now have the soft front and the medium rear. trying another little combination. You have to try these combinations because honestly, you never know what's going to happen. And of course, following that DrAce ghost, I think a few times I've actually begun to get annoyed with that ghost. I find that I'm constantly dethroned by the ghost, especially in a very tough lap time, because I find the ghost just takes my attention away of what I'm doing, and I try and race it, and it just annoys me. Sometimes I turn it off, but sometimes I leave it on, because I understand you guys like the ghost, so I try and leave it on for you guys for the videos purposes. But for the S's, turn 7, hooking it onto the rumble strip, using the rumble strip, but you don't necessarily have to go on it, but I tend to. Get ready to flick it left, but gradually braking. I felt that lifting the brake on and off and sort of tapping it a little bit sort of helped in that corner. So down the waterfall section, pretty nice so far. So even though we looked like we were behind on this particular lap, ran it a little bit wide there for turn 9. We need to be turning that in earlier. Brake hard for the turn 10, but not that hard. That is a desperate lunge at the left trigger. So be careful of braking into there. Trying to salvage a bit of time into Cheetah here, and I tell you what, we did so much better than that fastest lap that we really closed in on the ghost. Something to bear in mind, if you do get turn 11 right, you'll be surprised on how much time you can save. So fun fact, after I went on to complete lap 10, I went straight on again into turn 1 and completely butchered the braking zone, so I invalidated that lap. Therefore, restarted the lap, because I really didn't want to compete with invalidated laps anymore. I wanted to try and get as consistent as possible and really nail this track. And I must say, I found that the early parts of the section, every lap looks almost identical. But towards the end, turn 10, turn 11, turn 12 were the ones that kept catching me out. And it was quite frustrating because once you've done a minute and 20 seconds of the lap, or a minute and 10 seconds of the lap, the final 15 to 25 seconds, I would falter them. And it became more and more frustrating because I would mess up there. At least if I messed up at the beginning, I could restart quickly. But instead, I was wasting a good minute and so. But here it is. This is a very good lap. This is the soft front and soft rear now. This is a combination I very, very rarely use. But I was trying anything at this point to get the most out of this Kawasaki Ninja. Is a massive moment there. Absolutely huge moment. The soft tyres heat up so quick that just almost threw me off into oblivion. You have to be very careful of that. Like, really careful. So I included this one in just so you can see. Look how hot those tyres are now. Look, they are practically glowing. So you have to be super, super careful with the soft option tyres. So we did invalidate that previous lap, and the tyres were glowing that bloody hot that it made sense just to restart the lap and go for it again. So bearing in mind with how much rear brake we were using on the previous couple of laps, the soft option tyre does struggle if you use a lot of the rear tyre in regards to braking. So be careful of that. If you're going to be using the soft option tyre, be careful of the temperature of the tyres, because the front and the rear light up pretty quickly here. And of course, if you're going to be incorporating a lot of rear brake, you will heat up the tyre even quicker. But a good start so far. We are up by a 10th. Pretty clean looking lap so far as well. Seem to be getting it right. Hopefully haven't spoken too soon because I'd forgotten what part we were up to. But now up to the S's. Flick it left. I downshift to first gear here. It's a matter of taste, that one. I find that I like going into the first gear to get the acceleration properly. And then dropping it in to first gear even for this final, for turn 8. And then down the waterfall as we rock it down here. I absolutely love this section. It's so fast, it's so good. Keep holding it to the left. Use the rumble strip if you have to. Brake early. Don't brake late. Not in this corner here. Keep sticking in. The tyres are already getting hot, but just be careful of that. So be careful for the next part when you have to accelerate. Much cleaner into Cheetah. Finally we get it right. My advice, copy that part. And then rock it towards the final part. As we cross the finish line, how are we going to improve? We finally improve. It's a 135.1. So we finally got into the 135.1s again. But we can't be that close to a 134. So we're going to have to go for another lap. Restart the lap just to get fresh tyres. Braking into turn 2. Very clean. A little bit wobbly on the exit, but it's okay. thrashing into the tricky sweep. Bloody hell. Wheeling so much there, but still we are on a good lap. Careful not to invalidate the lap there by going onto the unpainted rumble strip. And then hook it in for Sunset. Nice so far. Could be tighter, but it's quite okay. A little bit too much throttle there, but I was eager at this point. Nice entry into the clubhouse bend. Careful not to invalidate the lap on the other rumble strip. Braking left. Just trail braking into it. Didn't go down to first gear that time. We left it into second, and I think actually that might be better. But either or, it seems to be quite alright. Braking hard, braking a little wild there into turn 8. But we managed to keep them front end down. We managed to keep it going, hooking it really nicely here. Hooking towards the exit of the corner, towards the outside. We're up by almost 0.5 of a second. If we can get this right, it's going to be a 1:34. As we brake now for Crocodiles. Careful not to wheelie, careful not to thrash it too much. Braking for Cheetah. A little bit gentle, but it's okay because we're obviously panicking that we don't want to run it too hot. And finally into turn 12 for Ingwe. A little bit gentle, but I was just wanted to make sure we get into the 1:34s. I think we're going to do it. As we cross the line, it's a 1:34.741. Brilliant stuff. And with the Kawasaki Ninja, I think that's a damn decent effort. So now we take a look at my 12 laps. Interesting, I would say, opposed to my other lap times. There was a lot of invalid laps here that obviously aren't showing. But the 12 completed laps I did, it's a pretty nice improvement. We improved by 3 seconds compared to where we started. So how about we take a look at the leaderboards and see where we get with the Kawasaki Ninja. So looking at the leaderboards, 4th place with the Kawasaki ZX-10RR, and as you can see, exactly what I said it would be. The Panigale V4 is the top of the pile. It will be. It'll always be at the top of the pile. It's the fastest bike in the game. But to get the Kawasaki in the top 4, I'm pretty impressed with that. So guys, that has been my Kyalami time trial video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Ciao for now.